some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, doo-dah, day.
Hi there, folks. Welcome to Last Man Standing. I'm sorry that I made my appearance backstage a little bit at the last moment. I suffered an ambush by nap ninjas about 20 minutes after 9 and woke up about 10 minutes before the show and had to run down the hall and come back and get everything going the way it's supposed to go. That's how it is sometimes, especially during my reclining years. Sometimes the chair is just entirely too comfortable. But with me tonight, got Aunt Donna. Excuse me. I'm trying to bring the lady on stage. There we go. Got Joe Bachman, got John Scarborough, and the man who is supposed to be very deathly ill.
That's
Joe Bob. Oh, that will be the day.
Joe Bob.
Hi, guys.
Hey, I am Southern.
Well, actually, my middle name is Robert, so you could call me Joe Bob.
I wouldn't dare. I'd probably get sued by somebody that makes
Lots of money.
movies starring some guy with a sling blade.
Actually, there used to be that the movie night thing with the guy with the cowboy hat. Joe Bob's
You're
driving.
gonna have to be much more specific.
He's
Guy
still
with the cowboy hat describes about 30% of the men in this county.
well. Joe Bob Briggs. He's still around,
Joe Bob Briggs, thank you.
and he actually lives in Knoxville.
Oh, well, that's a good place to live, actually. I know from experience.
He used to have a TV show. Was it USA or TNT?
I think it was USA. I could be wrong, but I believe it was
I
USA.
think you're correct because I think he actually had a crossover with what's her name from Up All Night.
Been a long time since I've had anybody complain about that.
No, I've been down with actions contrary to swallowing.
Sometimes you just make it too easy.
Yeah, Carl, Ron DeShear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, that would be an action contrary to swallowing right there. Um,
No, I'm pretty sure she was not contrary to. Anyway,
Let's just say the abs have gotten a good workout today.
well, hopefully your digestive system will eventually forgive you, and at least it's this week and not last week.
Well, I got out of jury duty.
Throwing up on the judge's shoes is a good way to get out of jury duty, as long as you can keep from
No,
getting locked up.
it was
Uh,
funny. They needed 96 jurors for this 2-week stint, and they
yeah.
were just calling names out of a hat. And she says, and that's our 96. And for the luckiest person in the room, she drew it out, and guess who got number 97?
Oh, if you ever
They
want to get
have
out of jury duty,
multiple-
when the lawyers are doing the selection to figure out who they want on the jury, act like you know everything, like the Encyclopedia Britannica backwards and forwards, and they won't pick you because they don't want smart people on the jury.
Tell them you're a former law student.
There was this. I got selected for, or I got called in for jury duty. They were doing the selection, and the one lawyer who was defending the case was a truck driver had backed into a car at a business, which was fine. But the person that was in the car came back 6 months later and started doing, "Oh, my neck hurts. My neck hurts." And the truck driver had been trying to back into a parking space next to this car. So they're asking, says, based on what you've heard so far, do you think this person should be held responsible for the injuries that the person claims they've sustained in the car? I said, yes, because the truck driver is responsible for anything that he does in that truck while he's driving. And because the company hired him, that they're responsible for the actions of that truck driver. I said, thank you, we won't be needing you.
Yeah, that's right. You're an honest man. We don't need you. Now, you might want to rearrange how far your microphone is from your face while you're eating, but
Who, me?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking. I'm not actually eating. I'm cutting up a couple chicken breasts. I'm going to make a pot pie later. So.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Every time you
I'm
lean over,
prepping. I'm not. Yeah.
every time you lean over, you get a little further away from your microphone, or your voice is directed into your
I
lap.
didn't pull my. I need room to work, so I have not pulled my table in close. So
Hey,
y'all are
you
way
got
over there. Okay, that's.
you got a knife in your hand. Don't get too close to the. Stay close to the candles. The staircase may be treacherous.
You heard about my devious actions yesterday at Waffle House, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm an evil person.
We've always known that.
I have been out of action for a few weeks, so.
Tell me
No, I was
something I
sitting
haven't known for 20 years.
I was sitting at Waffle House and realized I have touch tunes on my phone. So I played Last Christmas by Wham in a crowded Waffle House.
And then as you were leaving, you hit replay and walked out.
Did you check the jukebox?
What do you mean?
Did you see if it was on the jukebox?
Oh, I have the app on my phone.
No. You don't understand. You could have put the money in, picked 3 songs, and made the last one Last Christmas by George Michael. And then you'd been, 10, 15 minutes down the road.
No, John. See, people would have seen him standing at the jukebox. He did it on his phone anonymously, and that triggered the jukebox.
And when it started, I went, I'm out.
Strangely enough, I have not heard that yet. And at first I thought I did, and it turned out it was not a George Michael version. It's some country singer.
There are 2 songs that I really hate to hear at Christmas time. That's one of them. Not because I play Whamageddon, because I really just don't have the slightest care.
And Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
That's the one I purely hate and have since the first time I ever heard it. It's not because it's a bad song. It's not because it's a humorous song. It's just because it grates on my nerves. It's worse than the absolute worst Ed Wood film that has ever been produced by somebody pretending to be Ed Wood 50 years later.
You haven't seen the video of the turkey run Thanksgiving morning yet, have you?
Where the grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yeah. Literally.
No.
It was
Did you not put that on stupid? I know I've seen it somewhere.
This is why I never watch anything that gets posted to Stupid O'Clock. I never watch anything that's been posted by Joe Dog. I never watch anything that comes up on my feed says, "Oh, so and so just posted a video to Stupid O'Clock," and I'm going, not only do I have to shut off the iPad and reboot it so that I can regain control of my iPad and get it off of Stupid O'Clock instead of my feed, which is akin to deserving Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But, it's just on principle. I just have run out of trust.
We play twisted Christmas songs around here.
I had, when I was stationed in Germany, a song called it's an album called Heavy Christmas. And it was a bunch of heavy metal bands doing Christmas tunes.
As long as one of them is Christopher Lee, I will watch that. Christopher Lee, before the end of his life, actually put out an album of heavy metal music with him singing. And I'm going, you know how people they would brag that they'd listen to Sean Connery read a phone book? Christopher Lee reading a phone book would get higher ratings. At least if I was in the ratings measuring crowd. Yeah, Kitty, sorry. Probably glad. Yes, you should be very glad you don't have the faintest idea what we're talking about. Carl explained it succinctly. The game is not to hear a particular song, but if you mention the title, you also lose.
No,
But
that's not in the rules.
well, it's not, but that's in Carl's understanding of the rules, which is general enough to where it can apply. It's
Okay.
not in the. It's not in the High Catholic version. It's Episcopalian.
Well, the thing is, the reason they call it Whamageddon. Okay. It has to be the song that George Michael sang while he was with Wham. Okay. That's where the name came from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it has to be his version, not somebody else's
Right.
reproduction.
Alternate versions are allowed. They don't count. But if you hear George Michael's Last Christmas played, you're out. It starts on midnight after Thanksgiving, and it goes all the way up till midnight. Christmas. I can't remember if it's the night before Christmas or Christmas night.
Christmas Eve, I do believe, but it could be the midnight Christmas Day.
Yeah, I can't remember. Let me check here.
No, go right ahead. I mean, seriously, I said, y'all want to play this? You can. I'll hear any music I want to hear.
Here we go. Whamageddon, Christmas season game. Okay, gameplay. Rules from the official website of Whamageddon. The player must go as long as possible without hearing Wham's Christmas song, Last Christmas. Okay. The game starts on the 1st of December. I was wrong. It does not start on the day after Thanksgiving. And ends at the end of December 24th, Christmas Eve night. So midnight Christmas Eve night. In your time zone, by the way. Only the original version of Last Christmas applies. The players can listen to remixes and covers of the song. The player is out as soon as they recognize the original version of the song. The player may post at Whamageddon on social media as soon as they lose the game. Players can play on a player versus player if they wish by sending links to the song to friends to try and get them out of the game, although it is not encouraged. Once a player has lost, they are sent to Wamahala, in which they are unable to return until the game begins again next year. And there's also another one called the Little Drummer Boy Challenge.
Oh, is that the one with David Bowie and Bing Crosby?
Hold on a second. Let me see which one. I'll bring it up and read it real quick.
I just was curious as to which version.
Oh, any version. That was Cutthroat.
Ooh.
Let me see. Oh,
that includes the animated Christmas show as well, then.
The version of Bing Crosby and David Bowie, however, does disqualify the most players according to statistics.
Well,
now what's that about the Bing Crosby David Bowie version?
That one disqualifies more people than any other version of the Little Drummer Boy.
It's the one that's played the most.
Yep.
It is the most popular too.
As a trivia note, that was before Bowie changed his stage name. He was still going by Davy Jones because the Monkees were not as popular yet.
Really?
So David Jones, who later was David Bowie, did not feel compelled to adopt a new
moniker.
Thank you. That's a very good word. I was thinking
that's one of those English
name
words that doesn't get used enough in the English language.
Now I've seen the video from Bing Crosby special, and he says I'm David Bowie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw the original broadcast, and Bing introduces him as Davy Jones.
Well, he may have been
that was a long time ago, and re-edits are a thing.
And well, this was the one where Bing answers the front door. Asking
it was Bing Crosby used to do a Christmas special every year.
Yeah, although I preferred the oh God, what was his first name? Andy Williams. I preferred his Christmas specials. But that's just me. There are a lot of
Burl Ives, who I'm starting to look like, strangely.
You'll have to put on another 50 pounds
I'm working on it.
and dress as a snowman.
Okay. Trying to remember. That's an interesting thing right there. What are some of the Christmas specials y'all remember?
Oh Lord, the Rankin Bass Rudolph stop motion animation, or was it claymation? It was. I think it was just stop motion, not
Stop
claymation.
motion, yeah.
And it was followed in later decades by lots and lots in the same vein, including one
Little
starring
Drummer Boy. Yeah.
Chris Kringle, the little drummer boy. Let's see, there was one about animals that woke up being able to speak. And as soon as Christ was born, the power of speech was taken away from them. And I go, what a cruel fate. You can no longer object to being eaten or beaten because the Savior had been born.
There, you can find it on YouTube. There's a restoration. Somebody found the original Rudolph and Santa Claus,
Yeah.
and they've been restored, and they're sitting in a museum. I want to say they're sitting in the Smithsonian now.
The models from the Rankin Bass productions. Yes.
But they actually redid Rudolph to where his nose is now an LED bulb. And
As it should be.
it looks like, the little screw and light bulb, but it's got a LED bulb in it because, so it'll last longer. And they redid the wiring to where the wiring runs down inside his leg instead of just hanging out his left side.
That's on the display model.
Yeah.
I was going, how are you going to work that in the animation? That'd be worse than some of the reconstructions that I've seen on Doctor Who from the still photographs and the audio recordings.
Speaking of Christmas specials,
that's coming up. That is coming up. Yes, indeed. And from my understanding, it will have 2 instances of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who talking to each other on screen.
Huh.
Is there a Doctor Who special this year?
Yeah, Christmas Day. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
And at the same time they confirmed that, they also confirmed that, yes, we're actually going to show season 2. Over the last year, there has been tons of controversy about Disney being unimpressed with the ratings for people watching Ncuti Gatwa's first season as Doctor Who. And it's going, oh, well, it's been canceled. No more Doctor Who. Not until we get rid of the black guy that cries. And I'm going, oh, this is just more of the same of the people that are just dumping everything because there was a female doctor, and before that there was an old crotchety Scottish dude who was the doctor, and
Probably one of the best doctors since Tom Baker.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say one of the best.
Of course, everybody loves Tennant because he was the
he was the pretty boy. Yeah. And actually, I don't object to any choice that was made in the casting for the New Who era. It's all been. If it was a bad episode, it was down to the script writers. It was not down to the actor or actress. They can only work with the scripts they are given, and if it's a horrible script, there's not a lot they can do.
Now,
Um,
remember when Tennant came back as the Doctor? Everybody's went,
yes,
"No, you can't do it." Everybody pulled up the 50th anniversary, the tail end of the 50th anniversary in the museum,
yep.
and the caretaker came in. He says, "You'll see a lot of faces. Some you've seen before."
But only the old familiar favorites.
Yeah, which absolutely laid that groundwork that anybody could come back as a Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Uh, and it doesn't even have to be the ones who are still with us,
Yeah.
because the David is not Tennant, but the other one
Yeah.
is a perfectly acceptable first Doctor. Uh, People have been trying to get one of Patrick Troughton's sons to come back as Patrick Troughton.
And
People
Sean
have been
Kirby.
trying, yeah, Pertwee's boy to come back as John, and he was dead set against it. He's going, no, no, Dad wouldn't like that. I don't want to do it. And then he dressed up in one of his dad's old costumes with the white wig, and it was just like 95% there.
Yeah.
David Bradley, thank you, Chris, thank you, Carl. Uh, yeah, and before David Bradley, it was William Herndl, who was in the 20th anniversary episode, The Five Doctors, and he did an exceptional job as well. David
Wasn't
Bradley is doing really well, and I just hope that we get to keep him around long enough to have him be back on the show.
what didn't one of the reason Hartnell left is because his memory couldn't keep up with the acting.
Pretty much, it was before anybody knew what Alzheimer's was, but that was pretty much what he had. Yeah, he couldn't remember the scripts. He couldn't remember his part. He couldn't remember stage direction. He kept going until he said, I'm not able to function anymore, people. I gotta go." And
Aphasia.
in order to keep from ending the show there, they came up with the concept of regeneration and got Patrick Troughton in.
Well, that's also the reason Bruce Willis quit acting.
Yeah,
And they're saying now to the point he don't remember his kids.
I can say from personal experience that having a family member with that is one of the most horrible things you can ever experience. Is they're still there physically, but they're no longer themselves, and it's so heartbreaking. Um, Dad got to the point to where he couldn't remember how to swallow. He couldn't eat. It was a danger for him to breathe. He couldn't remember not to swallow his own spit. So he got aspiration pneumonia.
Mm.
They put him in the hospital. His veins were too delicate to handle the IVs. They'd give him an IV, that vein would collapse. They'd give him another IV in a different vein, that would collapse. It's having to put someone you love in hospice knowing that is a death sentence. It's different if you know that it's temporary and they will be released later on, but knowing that palliative care is all there is left. And all they can do is make them comfortable until that last breath. That's one of the most horrible things to experience. And I hope I never put any of my family through that. I've told Lindsay I'd much rather just walk off into the woods and show up on Unsolved Mysteries 20 years later. But that'll never happen because she depends on me. So I've got to stay calm, cool, and collected. Robert Heinlein said, "Old age is not for sissies." Once you start advancing in years, you really got to make a conscious effort to go, hey, I ain't giving up. You're going to have to take me kicking and screaming.
Oh,
Sorry. Mommy had to move.
And I've had people tell me, you can't take it with you. And then I tell them right back with a straight face, in that case, I ain't going. And right now, Nick Tucker is going, that's the old god of Appalachia speaking there.
Yeah.
Oh, almost set. I saw John's background train. I'm gonna set my Christmas lights up tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna take me about 20 minutes to get my whole yard decorated.
Mm.
I've got an inflatable Grinch, a string of Christmas lights, and an old Christmas tree with lights on it. I'm gonna hang one end of the string, Christmas light strings on the other, put the other in the Grinch's hand, and plug them all in to where I can just turn on one light.
You would. Carl got a good point. I think part of the Doctor Who problem on Disney is people like me. I was paying for BBC America only for Doctor Who. Then they stopped that. I will not give any money to Disney. Originally, Lindsay had the satellite dish. Gradually, she cut down the channel packages little by little to save us money. And it's like the third cutback, I lost Boom and I lost Cartoon Network and I lost any reason to be able to have to sit in the living room and watch TV. And then the Beatles retrospective came on Disney Plus. And I go, oh, great. Yeah, I'll pay for that. That means I can watch all the Star Wars stuff and I can watch all the Marvel stuff that I've been avoiding paying for because you want to see the Beatles. This is a deal. Now she's asking me if I should turn off Netflix. And I'm going, no, I'm still watching stuff on Netflix. We've only got like 3 services.
Netflix got so expensive that we cut it. I had to pull the plug on Netflix.
I canceled Netflix too.
And well, I'm still going with it. I mean, we've got the Roku channel, all the free stuff on Roku.
Pluto TV has a Cartoon Network style channel.
Yeah, and there's a package that she has signed us up for that I can get that. I can watch. I never have, but and the main reason I never have is the cartoons I wanted to watch. I have on the 10 terabyte hard drive. All of them. Original. No commercials.
Banned
Now
cartoons.
I've got those too. And I watch them and go, you know, good thing these were banned. They're boring. The only thing they got going for them is that they were banned in this uh, free zone of hey, you're not supposed to watch these because they're not racially sensitive. And I'm going, well, I knew that back when I saw him first run. I'm going, how do you get away with this? Because this was well, they were probably done in the 50s. This was the 60s on TV, and I'm going, how do you get away with this when you got riots in the street for racial equality and whatnot?
Have you ever seen Leto's Law on YouTube?
No.
That's one you need to look up because he just came out with one. Warner Brothers produced a complete live action movie called Coyote versus Acme, where Wild Coyote sued the Acme company for the
All the defective products.
defective products. It was shot, edited, ready to release. Warner Brothers canned it. 86 canned it.
Yeah.
Wrote it off $30 million.
Joe Bachman's not going to be back with us. I'm sorry. Get some sleep. That's all I can say. Get some sleep.
Get some sleep for a while.
Bed was calling for some head and ass.
Thank you, John. I was not going to post that publicly, but your big mouth went ahead and broadcast it to the entire world. Now I see why you're head of security.
Hey, somebody has to pay attention to these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just being nice and saying, don't look like Joe's going to be getting any sleep anytime soon.
Yes, that was a sentence construction that could be easily misconstrued, or maybe we are interpreting correctly, but it's still none of our business.
Given that he probably is tired and sleepy, he probably did not type that correctly. But this is Dan's show, so he probably did type it correctly. And just, that's...
Hey.
Hi.
If Traylana was my wife and she wanted some, I wouldn't be here. If Lindsay wanted some, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
I'm in here.
Quick rocket news. Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
They're going to do a launch in December, right?
Next Starship is January 11th.
January 11th. Okay, that's what that's. So it'll be next year.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about this one? Are they?
It's the new version.
New version of.
It's Block 2 Starship Block 1 booster. Block 2 booster will have entry burn.
So it's going to have shielding or something?
Yeah, it's going to have a big flame at the bottom of it, blasting to.
Bless you, Joe Dog.
blasting the plasma to keep it from getting up into the engines.
Ah.
As long as the damn thing don't blow up the tower again, and when it takes off, yeah, they're going to try to catch it with the tower again.
Is that what happened last time? They blew up their tower?
It blew
No. There was a problem with the booster guidance that wouldn't allow it to come back and be caught.
Ah.
It was off target just a hair, and they said, "Hey, everybody's watching this. We'll just drop it in the Gulf of Mexico rather than."
I'd heard
have
it
a
might be
disaster.
damaged. I'd heard it might be damaged to the tower. But
Yeah, it was damage to the tower. The tracking, the booster hones in on a tracking on the tower, and the antenna.
the antenna went bye-bye.
Yeah,
Antenna might have melted during launch.
See, I've often wondered why they don't have more shielding on that tower to protect it from the blast. Because it's open, it's just a superstructure. It's open, but
right now it's expense, and they're having to change the tower so much every launch.
That
now
makes
is
sense.
the new tower different, or is it a copy of the old one, or do we know?
It's pretty much a copy of the old one, but the launch mount will be different.
So it's Tower Mark II
Yeah,
or Mark
Tower
Mark
version
20.
1.2? Yeah, it's
and the actual launch mount is completely different. It'll actually have flame trench and water diversion and all that.
Bless you, Joe Dog.
Gesundheit.
At least you didn't hear it.
What makes you think I didn't? Just because you turned your microphone off? You're only, what, 500 miles away?
Speaking of stuff,
I'll be back in a minute.
Well, I was
yeah,
gonna
he
ask
can sneeze, but he's not going to get a Kleenex out on camera.
I don't think he owns Kleenex.
To kill the camera. Barely had enough time to kill the mic.
Ah,
So how are you doing, Donna? Since
we haven't let Aunt Donna talk,
Yeah, you completely missed my comment about we play twisted Christmas songs in this house.
oh really?
actually,
You ever heard
yes.
any of them? I think my favorite one's walking around in women's underwear.
That's okay. Yeah, that's. one
I've
of my
heard that
favorites.
one. I've heard that one many times, and I go, "This is actually intelligent."
Now
Another-
I do. I was in the military for a long time, and I can remember my first Christmas overseas away from my family. I spent it with a bottle of Jack Daniels, and listening to Christmas songs. And of course, I was in Germany, so I was listening to a lot of German stuff. But the one I really liked on American radio was the guy who was running the radio station there in Berlin played a lot of Nat King Cole. So, who, in my opinion, is the greatest Christmas singer of all time. I mean, it's
he's one of the greatest singers of all time.
that too.
Well, I fixed my sinuses.
Yeah, by blasting him out the front door.
Roto-Rooter.
I just realized my farts stink.
Welcome to our world, Joe.
Oh, that admission had to come on my show, huh?
Another song that was our favorite for a long time when we had a particular someone living with us was the song "We Wish You Weren't Living Here." I'm gonna have to share some of those in the group.
Oh, there's one that isn't a Christmas song that just reminded me of. I think it was T-Bone Burnett. did just an ordinary. It was a summertime song, and I think the tagline for it was "Wish you were her."
Mm.
Evidently, there was some girlfriend he was with that he really wished had been a previous girlfriend instead of leaving him for, I don't know, the tax collector or whatever. Don't know his situation. Um, oh,
Oh, let me see.
Well, I shared a couple here recently. Silent Night. The first one was sung in German by Werner Kempler and John Danner.
Oh yes, that is.
That was great, and you can tell Werner must have had some classical training by the way his was forming the words.
hmm.
And then I came across an Irish version of it. That's she was beautiful, just beautiful.
Now, you want to know the crazy thing about those two?
Did I share them?
No, that I mean the characters they portrayed that they were known for.
Okay. Tell me some more.
Schultz and Colonel Klink,
Mm-hmm.
they're Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I knew that even back when the show was on. Yeah, Chris.
Yep. There,
There you
There
go.
we
You
go.
finally got the right one.
well, it kept moving.
I am cynical. That is the Black Sabbath. I am Iron Man Christmas
I
parody.
am
Yes.
Santa Claus.
I love
Yep.
that. I just figure that being a
Oh,
pagan, somebody's going to say, "What are you doing? Posting these Christian songs, Christmas songs?
You know what you
You
did?
know, beautiful
Backhand 'em.
music. Beautiful music is beautiful music,
uh-huh.
and these two were beautiful."
Um,
I really love 1812 Overture, but I'm not Russian. Oh, and Carl's got a good point here. Werner's father was a famous orchestra conductor, and yes, they snuck that into the series where Colonel Klink, instead of being a soldier, wanted to conduct orchestras
Mm-hmm.
instead. That was just neat. That was just very, very neat. Uh, Chris, that comment. Thank God Joe Dog came back. Um, common sense is the answer to that one, Chris Walker. Um,
Oh, and Disney, because they wanted to be a cheap ass, blew the perfect chance. And you've probably seen the videos to where in Avengers Endgame, when Tony Stark had the glove for the snap,
Mm-hmm.
play the the theme to Iron Man,
yeah,
and
the
then
Black Sabbath version as he was snapping, that would have
yeah,
been perfect.
and Tony Stark go, "I am Iron Man," and then go full in. But they didn't want to pay Ozzy the money for.
Well, it's not just Ozzy. The drummer was usually the one writing most of the lyrics for the songs.
Yeah,
But
they just didn't want to pay the royalty.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, um,
But they expect their royalties to get paid.
Yeah,
instantly. Yeah. Um, no, the thing about Black Sabbath was that they had a deal. No matter who wrote what, as long
everybody,
as that four of them were together, they were going to split songwriting credits equally, so everybody got paid no matter what.
it ain't that way no more.
Well, um, a lot of bands did not fall into that way of thought. I mean, there are a lot of bands that had one major songwriter or one major lyricist, and all of them who in these bands worked on piecing things together so that you had this one song, and then all of them would take credit for the whole thing rather than one out of the group getting paid a whole lot more than the rest of them for being, I hate to say the mastermind of it, but the more creative impulse. Uh,
You are going to fall off.
and a lot of bands actually split up for this particular reason because it's like, oh, yeah, we're so and so with this famous lead singer who gets all the credit, but we're the ones that come up with the music. He just sings what we write. I'm looking at you, Journey. Um,
You're good kitty.
music, the music business is insanely complicated, especially on the individual band basis because there's so many different dynamics within different groups. Some of them are fine going, hey, we'll just split everything between all of us equally. And there are some where there's one person that goes, hey, I may not have my name as part of the band name, but it's all my work. Y'all are just my backup.
Talking to you, Don Henley.
Yeah, that's some when hell freezes over sort of territory there.
You know, Don Henley has hired like
Well, he
150
says he is hired.
Yes. To go through and watch videos. And if anybody's playing any music, I mean, even if they're playing Eagles and covering it, he sends a cease and desist and copyright claims it. That's why Rick Beto won't do any Eagles.
Yeah,
And when Don Henley dies, they're going to have to do an environmental impact study on his gravesite for all the urine that is running off the grave.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pour a bottle of whiskey over his grave. I hope he doesn't mind if I filter it through my kidneys first.
Joe Walsh will probably be first in line.
Hey, I got to buy tickets.
I'll buy tickets to watch Joe Walsh piss on Don Henley's grave. Okay,
I'm going to have to buy tickets to be standing there next to Joe Walsh.
Shit right there. Let me tell you.
And I'm sure Joe's already got plans to sell tickets. Help me piss on Don Henley's grave.
Crowdfunding.
We'll be able to put out 3 more Eagles albums without that guy.
I will say I have a former boss who passed away who is buried in an unmarked grave in an undisclosed cemetery. That family won't even say where he's buried.
Of course not.
I don't think shy is one of the words that I would use to describe Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh. Maybe a certain part of the anatomy is shy.
Hey.
Well,
I don't think Joe Walsh has performance issues.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Depends on what's performing.
There is a phenomenon called shy bladder where you actually cannot perform biological functions with an audience,
Mm.
even if the
Yeah.
audience is one person.
It is not our guy, but happening right now.
Oh, really? They're
Oh.
rolling out the booster.
Okay.
They're going to let it sit around all December?
On the stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do a static fire and then they'll roll it back and then
You violated somebody's copyright, Joe Dog. There comes the sirens.
They're coming for you instead of me.
Not mine.
EMTs. Oh shit.
oh
That's a big call for EMTs.
These are from the fire station. They drive out in an engine. They are.
At first, I thought you said they drive out in a ninja.
damn, they got down here quick.
Engine, yeah.
They got down here quick because there's some running around in my neighborhood.
They go out in addition to
Yes,
an ambulance, so there's something big going on.
Yeah, especially when it's cold and freezing, because they need lots of firefighters to get
fires
people
generated
out.
to keep the city warm.
Well, no, because the EMTs can go in and do the work. When they eventually get them on the stretcher, they need help getting them on the stretcher. That's why they have the big burly firefighters. And they need help getting the stretcher out of the house, which is why they have the big burly firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might need help getting them across the yard if it's a steep hill covered in ice or snow, mud, and fun stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
where I live, it is a steep hill.
yeah.
Would you call where I live a steep hill, John?
A little.
Believe me, if global warming
Joe,
ever
that
happens,
hill-
you're going to have your own island, Joe Dog.
That hill is where the old term had to walk to school uphill both ways came from.
Yeah.
And
'Cause you cannot get
Chris is right.
cannot
Chris
get
is
into his
right.
neighborhood. You cannot get into his neighborhood without going uphill, downhill, and downhill.
And we're not talking, little rises. No, we're talking
Halfway up the damn mountain. Now, Chris is right. Glenn Fry wrote a lot of their hits too. Yes, indeed. That was a
And
very,
he will
very.
be in line right behind Joe Walsh.
no, I think
Yeah.
already crossed over.
I didn't know that. Well, maybe
Yeah,
I
I
did
mean, I
know
wasn't
that, but
that
I've
one up.
forgotten it.
Because I did. If it happened, I never heard about it.
No, Don Felder, that's the one that passed on.
Oh, yeah.
And Dan, you were talking about lighting a fire. Tread a little gently about
Ooh,
that.
no.
Danville has had several suspicious fires in the past couple of months.
Glenn Fry died in 2016.
It was Glenn Fry. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
is Don Felder still alive?
Let's see here.
Mr.
Dawn?
Google. Yeah, and Donna, there have been lots of instances where.
Don Felder's still kicking. He's 77 years old.
Okay.
All right, gives me something to look up to.
Well, you heard
and-
about the 3 restaurant owners sitting on the beach down in Jamaica, didn't you?
Oh shit! Don't ask him. Don't ask him. Don't ask him.
We don't have to. He's going to tell us anyway.
That's true.
They're talking and they're going, I'm here because my restaurant burned down. The other one goes, yeah, that's the reason I'm here. My restaurant burned down. I'm not going to reopen. I'm just going to live off the insurance money. And the third one goes, yeah, well, mine got flooded out and there's nothing left. So we're just, going to live off the money. The first two look at each other. They look over at the third guy and they look at each other again. They look back and say, how the hell do you start a flood?
Well, evidently,
That's the Waffle House in Banks Crossing. That's the only Waffle House I know of that had to close because it was 6 feet deep in water
There
after
were
a hurricane
several,
passed through.
there were several Waffle Houses in North Carolina that were underwater after the hurricane passed through. So,
And still serving.
yeah, they didn't.
Well, there was
The scrambled eggs were a little bit runny, but the sausage
Oh, they're
was still
covered,
good.
chunked, and drowned. Okay.
right there in the foot of Florida where the hurricane came through. There was video of Jim Cantori sitting in broadcasting from the parking lot of a closed Waffle House.
Now that's a sign to get out of town.
Time to go, folks.
You know,
If the
every
Waffle
time I
House closes and Jim Cantori shows up, head for the hills.
every time I see Jim Cantori standing out there in the middle of a hurricane, I keep picturing this scene from what was it? Day After Tomorrow, where the tornadoes go through Los Angeles, or 2012, I can't remember. But it showed these tornadoes going through Los Angeles, tearing up Los Angeles. And it showed the weather guy standing out in the middle of the street talking, and this billboard comes off, the sign comes off the billboard, comes flying down the street, and just you see him talking, all of a sudden he's just gone. And I'm
That's
like,
actually based on a video where a reporter got took out with a stop sign. Hey, it's not the wind that's going to hurt you; it's what's in the wind.
it's in the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the flood waters from hurricanes. When the storm surge comes in, everybody says, yeah, we'll be out there surfing. You can't surf over a semi truck and a van and a house.
It's difficult. Depends on how deep the water is when you get there. There is a famous scene in a Larry Niven, Jerry Purnell novel where there's one guy's got a surfboard out there. There's a humongous meteor hits the Pacific Ocean. And he's going, okay, I'm going to die, but this is going to be the best wave of my life. And he starts paddling out towards the approaching tsunami. And there are people in Los Angeles that see this guy hanging 10 on a surfboard coming straight at them on a tidal wave. And Larry and Jerry made it very clear that despite all odds, the surfer did live through that. Because there were so many fans of this guy that's got balls bigger than Notre Dame riding a surfboard on a tidal wave, heading towards skyscrapers in downtown California, basically.
You remember the Christmas Day tsunami in the Pacific Islands, wherever?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
There was this one guy who survived it. Him and his family was on the beach, and he got to looking, and he said all of a sudden he noticed the water going out. And he goes, run.
Don't wonder why. Just run.
And they barely got into a building and up to the second floor before the water come down the street.
Now, Lindsay came and told me there was an earthquake.
7-0 just off the coast of San Francisco.
Yeah.
No tsunami from it.
No tsunami yet.
Well, they canceled the tsunami warning after 5 hours.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a good sign. If it's 5 hours and it hadn't got there, whatever would have happened.
I mean, 10 miles off the coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
it's going to have to be huge to generate something that caused an earthquake in California and a tsunami coming in 5-10 hours later.
Now, possibility, instead of, running coastline, it ran
North-south.
North-south, yeah.
It ran east-west. instead of going north-south, it ran east-west, and it just pushed it out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Okay. Yeah, they canceled the tsunami warning. It was a 7.0 on the Richter scale and did moderate damage throughout California.
Yeah, apparently she came back here. There were people in the news going, "We just had an earthquake," and we walked around afterwards, and there weren't even broken windows. This is unusual. And she's going, "Oh, they're going to have a tsunami any minute."
Oh no!
What?
There's a picture from the earthquake of a liquor store, and all the liquor fell off the shelves.
Oh no.
Alcohol
humanity.
abuse. The humanity, yes. It's, tragic. Hopefully, a lot of it was in plastic bottles. Or it will teach the companies to start using plastic bottles. Good Lord.
Well, I think I'm going to jump out of here, guys.
All right, Joe Dog. Oh, God, John, what have you got?
Oh no.
Oh, God, I recognize those bottles. That's some expensive stuff.
It's a good thing the Witzman dude can't see that.
He'd be crying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Evans held out.
Yeah, I do like the way you can tell which direction the earthquake came from because it knocked all the wine from the left into the floor, but all the whiskey on the right stayed in place.
Well, it moved back to a little bit on the
Something else, you can tell it's California too, because if you look at the shelves, they have wire gates down the front, so the liquor supposedly can't fall out into the floor.
Apparently, they weren't so careful with the wine.
Is it sad that I recognize the fireball?
Well, it is the closest one.
Hey, is it sad that I recognize about
Yeah,
half of those brands of
very
wine?
close.
Yeah, here's the Fireball. That's Margaritaville, isn't it? Or is that? Yeah, okay. Let me see. What? No, this should all be whiskey, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Fireball's
I've recognized the Evan Williams and the Jack Daniels and
Crown
whatever
Royal.
that is in that box. There should be something really special.
Okay. Let me see here. Oh, here you got all the barefoot one. Yeah, this is the value aisle. Obviously, there ain't nothing really nice here. So
Hey, there's Fireball there.
Yeah, but we're talking about the shelf opposite the wine shelf, and it's I've recognized a few of those labels. They were not unpleasant vintages.
sometimes the cheaper wines actually are tastier than the
more expensive ones.
The dry, dusty crap you don't want to drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time we went to the liquor store, I was just walking down a random aisle I never go down, and there was a bottle of Tokay, and I'm going, oh my God, did they rebuild the winery? They had a fire, and back in the 70s, the only way you could get this was in partially melted bottles that then got shipped anyway because they never got broken. It's a very, very sweet dessert wine from Western Europe, I do believe. Not central, but kind of central to the west. I don't remember which country it was, but it was. I got 3 or 4 of them at bargain prices because, hey, the bottles are half melted. We don't know about the quality of what's inside. And I went, this is some good stuff. It tasted wonderful. Yes, I could see how this would go with a cherry cheesecake or whatever rich people have for dessert. But The new one is like 50 times the cost of what I paid back in the 70s for the fire damage bottles. I don't believe I've got $100 to spend on a bottle of wine. Thank you. That'll get me several bottles of rum, especially if I stick to the cheap shit. Lindsay looked over and she goes, "Don't you want a bottle of that Kraken?" I go, "Honey, that's the 94 proof. You don't like it when I drink the 94 proof. I fall down too much."
And she's too small to help you up.
Yeah, she is. And I'm too small to help her up, so it evens out. If we both fall down, we just lay there, and neither one of us has got the help. I've fallen and I can't get up. Help! I'm drunk and I can't get off my ass.
So I redid the door flap on the pig's house out in the backyard.
Oh, okay.
He's got his 125 watt reptile light out there.
That ought to work keeping him
And then
warm.
I put an insulated door over the front of it. This time I put a piece of wood on the bottom of it to hold it down so the wind blowing won't blow it so much. So,
But it still will open for him in or out.
it will let him out. It won't let him in. So when I go out, he's old and can't get to his feet too well. So I usually have to go in there to get him up on his feet. And I'll open the door, turn off the light, put him up on his feet, and then put his food out. So he has time to back out of the pig house. So, but he didn't get in there until like 10 minutes before the show started. He was out. He likes to lay next to the hot tub and put his feet in close to the hot tub to keep his feet warm.
Mhm.
And apparently that only worked for a couple hours. And then he decided, I need to be under a roof.
I need to be out of the wind. That's the worst thing. It was warm enough today. If it hadn't been so windy, I could have gone outside and done some more work on the barbecue grill. I've still got painting to do. I've still got 6 small sheets of tin to put up to extend the roof out another 3 feet. Yeah. But it's been so windy that, yes, I know I've got insulated coveralls and everything. I could protect myself from the cold, but I can't protect myself from the paint blowing all over the place.
All over you?
Or the tin trying to turn into a parachute in my hands. Last thing I want to do is go flying off the ladder 8 feet in the air and go, I wonder if Mutual of Omaha is going to cover this.
Hey, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, hang gliding with a sheet of roofing material.
Well, that's what happened to our friend Foxy when she was a child. She had a big raincoat and had it out like this, and she's a little thing. Wind caught her, deposited her up on the roof.
Now this is not Thesis' Foxy. This is a totally different Foxy.
No, this is Thesis' Foxy.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Of course, you don't hear about it so much anymore. They used to have those bouncy houses for the kids' birthday parties and stuff like that.
They still
and occasionally you'd hear about a bunch of kids getting tossed across the state, and
at least they were cushioned until it sprang a leak. Oh.
Now that would be a fun bouncy house.
There is a company here in Chattanooga that sells those for water. And it's like these, they call them fun islands. And it's this big inflatable thing with slides and stuff like that. And they're huge. They're, a couple tens of thousands of dollars. So like that. they'll tow them around to all the public swimming areas and basically they'll let you play on it for like $2. And it's like, who the hell has $2 in their bathing suit? That's because you got to swim out to the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't put it in the public swimming area. They put it right outside the public swimming area. So you have to swim out to it.
Mm-hmm. No, sorry.
I don't swim, so that leaves me out.
There are two things. There are two things I don't go near anymore. And it's a shame because I used to enjoy one of them. One is public swimming pool. The other is Baptist churches.
For the same reason, water.
No,
People,
the Baptist churches don't have sufficient fire insurance to cope with the building catching on fire when I walk in, and swimming pools because
yeah.
I've seen people in swimming pools. Sorry.
I'm going to do the Google Maps thing. Bear with me.
Not Berlin again.
No, not Berlin again. Okay. Bring that up there, Dan.
Okay.
That is the Chickamauga Dam over the Tennessee River, and this is the reservoir's swimming area. TVA runs this. There's their little kiddie playground, and that's the big swimming area, which you can't see too well because water's up right now. But this is the big picnic area, and the parking lot's up on the hill there behind the trees, and they've got all the picnic tables. You can't see the picture too well here.
The kiddie playground has got chain link fence all around it.
It won some sort of award for.
Oh wait, it doesn't have a chain link fence all around. I'm going. My cats have a bigger pin than the kids do.
That is a slide for life, and it's got the little chair. You put the kid in it, and you can slide them back and forth along the cable.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another one next to it that's this little T seat you sit on or whatever. And there's slightly, and then it's got the handicap swings. And let me see how. Trying to find a better picture of the slide. Yeah, you can't really see the slide for life. Let's see. Not terribly, no, but
no, the camera never got close enough.
Yeah,
nice lake though.
That is the reservoir up above Chickamauga Dam. It's up near. Strange enough, Joe's house is right over there.
Well, if it's near Chickamauga, then it's near.
No. The dam's called Chickamauga Dam because the creek next to it is Chickamauga Creek.
Oh, okay.
That's North Chickamauga Creek there, and that's how it got its name.
Okay, I started to say Hillbilly lives in Chickamauga, and he's close enough to where he can actually walk out on the battlefield.
Yeah,
Memorial.
The actual Chickamauga is
a little further inland.
Yes, a little bit south. Why can I not? I know I'm in the right area. Chickamauga National Park.
Wouldn't that be the battlefield area?
There's the battlefield. I'm just trying to find the. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry, got turned around. There's Chickamauga proper. There's Chickamauga Battlefield, and then we have two Chickamauga Creeks, which, see, one of them comes out somewhere in this neck of the woods. That's it. Or that's Chattanooga Creek. Where's Chickamauga Creek that goes there? Chattanooga. And then there's another.
You're making me dizzy.
Sorry.
None of the airplanes I've ever been in make those kind of movements. And I haven't been in a helicopter to be able to duplicate those kind of movements, thankfully, because
There's South Chickamauga Creek. Okay. And then there's the North Chickamauga Creek. At one time, for some reason, they thought they were connected. I don't know why. And then here's the Chickamauga Shoals, which is interesting because this used to be an island.
it doesn't look that deep in places.
There used to be a big long island right here that disappeared when they put the dam in. So,
Oh, like some of the towns in East Tennessee.
Mhm.
there are several places up through here. Let me see if I can find one of them here. They're actually pretty easy to find because it's usually like an island and you can see what's left of the road going out to it. See, is that the Harrison Bay? Because it's kind of funny. They pulled the town out, but they didn't get rid of the roads going. I think there used to be a road here that went out here, and you can actually see where the road went all the way out through the different. It used to be across the top of a hill. You see
Yeah.
here, and
There were a couple of coves that we had to be really careful in when we were fishing in Norris Lake, which is one of the TVA lakes that had been dammed up. And there were still like concrete steps that came up just about 2 feet under the water line. And if you had a deep drafted fishing boat, you could wind up having
that
to
could be fun at
swim
about
for
30
shore.
miles an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, talk about a fender bender. This was a keel ripper, basically. What was really weird is when you go camping there and you got the boat out and you're in the boat, you go all the way out to these concrete steps and you're able to stand about knee deep in the water on the top step. And the boat pulls away and your dad goes, okay, now can you swim or not?
About to find out.
Hot dogs is that way. Make a splash. I remember one time we went camping and got right down on the shore of the lake, and it started torrential rains. And Mama said, Wayne, we're gonna have to move the tent. This is not gonna stop till sometime way late tomorrow. So we went about 10, 15 feet further up the shore. Sure enough, the next morning when we got up, the place where we had the tent set up and Dad had carefully dug a little trench all the way around it, half of the tent would have been a foot underwater. And that was the half of the tent that I was going to be sleeping on the ground.
Yeah, we had.
And not on an air mattress, so I wouldn't have floated.
When I joined the military, they were just starting to issue the foam sleeping mats. You roll them out, put your sleeping bag on it. And a few of the guys in our unit still had the inflatable air mattresses, and they liked them better because you could the foam ones. They're only about that thick, so you on a rock, you're on a rock. Yeah, and but the foam ones you could adjust slightly for your body weight, so it was and keep you up off the ground. So we had this one fella. He sat there, got his foam mat. We're all sitting there. It starts raining. We didn't think nothing of it. Sure enough, he comes floating out from underneath his tent
on the air mattress.
On the air mattress, and it's like you wanted to tell him, but you didn't want to tell him because you wanted to see how it played out.
Oh,
Dude, you're on a boat.
Well, the other thing was, if you woke him up while this was happening, he was going to jump up, flip the air mattress, and wind up in 6 inches of water. So it's kind of.
So you just waited until he woke up naturally and flipped over in a foot of water, or out in the middle of the Dead Sea or wherever it was near.
Fortunately, it snagged, so it didn't float too far, out. But had to wake him up, move his tent, fun stuff like that.
Fun times.
yeah.
In the rain. Okay, in the rain, cold, snow, ice, mud.
Yeah, I've got to say, even as a civilian child, moving a four adult person tent uphill in a pouring rain is not quite as fun as it sounds.
This was one of the little shelter half tents where each soldier has half the tent.
Yes.
You have to buddy up with somebody because he's got the other half of the tent.
He's got the other half, and it turns into a pup tent.
Now,
each of you has half the equipment.
But he was sleeping by himself, and the reason he floated, if he had the two shelter halves, he wouldn't have floated out. He'd floated inside of it. But he had a shelter half and a poncho, and the poncho doesn't have the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yeah. John, have you ever heard of a channel called Corporal's Corner?
No.
I recommend that highly. It's a former Marine sergeant who does all sorts of primitive camping and whatnot, but he sometimes goes, hey, I remember doing this back when I was a Marine, as if anybody ever stops being a Marine.
Well, technically you don't, but that's
no. I mean, you can retire.
Prior service Marine. I've heard a lot, but
yeah, you can retire, but you're still going to be a Marine until the
day you die.
Well, and even after that,
yeah,
really, death will not release you. But he does these wonderful primitive camping things. He'll go out there and he'll build different types of shelters out of just what's there, using a folding saw, pocket knife, an axe, and whatever he can carry. Some of them is he's been going on about, one of the greatest inventions ever for the military is a poncho and poncho liner, because it's got so many uses, and you're issued this shelter half. As you said, you got to buddy up with somebody else who has the other half and makes a complete pup tent. Each of you has half the equipment, the support rods, the tent stakes, everything else. You can actually make a place big enough for a sleeping bag out of just one half.
Yeah.
But you got to think in geometry to be able to do that.
When I went to a French commando school, and they showed us how to make single shelters out of your poncho. How to use your 2 stakes, stake down the corners.
Mm-hmm.
We call, I can't remember what the French call them, but we call them ranger graves, which was just a shallow pit that you lie in so that you can duck your head down if they're shooting over you. They can't hit you. But we kind of dug one of those, about half of one. Put the sleeping bag and everything down in it, and you'd put your rucksack in the direction the bad guys were going to be coming from. Lay your rifle over the top of it and sleep right behind your rucksack underneath this poncho. and it was real low to the ground, wasn't even 2 foot high. So if you picked your ground really well, they'd have to walk right on top of you to find you. And that's where we would rest during the day. And the way they set it up was you slept in your tennis shoe, your running shoes, and you put your boots inside your rucksack. Everything you didn't need right then was in your rucksack. You just kept it in your rucksack. And if you had to get out of there in a hurry, like they found you and started shooting the place up, you could grab the poncho liner, pull the stakes up, throw the whole thing in your rucksack, throw your rucksack over your shoulder, and fight your way out with all your gear and just keep going. You know, it's a pretty neat concept.
I think you would like this guy. There was one time when he goes, okay, look, this is
Contra, the video game?
This is contraindicated, but I'm going to build an underground shelter, knowing that I'm a Marine and rain follows Marines. So he did, and he even roofed it in with bits and pieces of trees that he had cut down about 4 inches in diameter, made a roof over it, lined it with tree bark, and then threw dirt and whatever over the roof to waterproof it. Then went down inside. He had room to stand up in one part of it.
Wow.
And he's a good 6'2", and he even went so far as to take his little foldable shovel and dig out a fireplace inside and find some what was it? Not pottery shards. Bits and pieces of ceramic tube, and made a chimney. So he had a fire in there with its own chimney in a roofed place. He had an elevated sleeping platform, so he didn't have to lay on the ground. And everything was lashed together with the tarred twine, bank line sort of twine. He just tie a couple of knots I don't know the name of, but and just it would be. He could leave these things standing for about a year. Before the twine rotted away. And he would put up a fire pit right outside and cut some larger trees down, or cut some fallen logs in manageable pieces and build a fire break, or basically a windbreak, with a fire on the inside that would reflect everything into his shelter or his tent or whatever he had set up. And it's one of those things, somebody like me that has done primitive camping is going, this is some genius stuff here. And then he usually ends off each video by cooking some campfire meal that you're going, dude, what are you making videos for? You could write a cookbook.
Going back to flooding, I'll tell you my flooding story. Back when I was dancing, my group was picked to perform at the Illinois State Fair. And our neighbors, who were really good friends, said, well, they'd like to see that. And that father got together with my father, and they rented a 10-person tent. And it came with cots and everything. So, we get down there the night before, we get all settled in, and it starts raining. and our parents let all us kids know that it's going to be all right. We're in a tent. We're going to stay dry. Everything's fine. We wake up the next morning and there's 2 inches of water all over the tent floor. Yeah, so that was you could not get out of bed without stepping in the water. So had to had to take, instead of being able to dress there, had to go someplace else to the public restroom and get dressed there. Make sure everything was cleaned off before I went and danced. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Um, Weather ruins a lot of things. I mean, you make all these grandiose plans, and then the weather goes,
Yeah, Mother Nature can be a bitch.
"Oh Lord."
Oh, you think you're gonna hide from me, huh? Nope.
Mm. Let's see. Usually the corporal does a short video in the middle of every week, and then he does like a half hour, 20-minute video every Sunday about 10 a.m. Eastern. Um, and I watch it religiously. Um, it just, I'm going, oh, I wish I had known that trick when I was down at the bottom of Tallulah Gorge. Uh, no, I had to find a big rock that was above the water level and set my sleeping bag up on that and put a tarp over it and hope that was going to be enough.
That rain I was telling you about where the guy got moved out of his tent. Right after that happened, I went and bought a mini hammock, which was kind of nice after everybody kept screwing with me while I was in the hammock. So.
I remember the first time I ever used a hammock in camping. I sat down on the hammock facing the fire. Next thing I know, it had done a 180 with me in it and dumped me out on the ground. I'm going, let's try that again. It didn't take long before I got a couple of tree branches and saw notches in the end to spread the hammock out on the ends so that it didn't just kind of cocoon me inside.
You
I
know,
thought,
the hammock I bought was very unstable until you put the sleeping bag in it, and then the sleeping bag held it open. So it was,
Mm.
then I put I ran a string across the top of it, ran a fly across the top of it, and put my poncho over it for rain, and
Yeah.
I was good. Everybody else was in the mud and the water. So
I think I had a 10-foot square uh, light tarp. I mean, yeah, would have lasted maybe one summer if you just put it up and left it up, but it served me for about 2-3 years without ripping or anything. Just run a ridge line over the hammock. Um, of course, I had to extend the end lines of the hammock out to a couple of convenient trees. And then just by chance, I learned, hey, this is a little bit more comfortable if you put your feet lower than your head for the hammock. So I'd always tie the hammock, the head end much higher up the support tree than I did the foot end. So it still sagged down once you got in it because it was just a mesh hammock. It wasn't a solid cloth like a tarp. It was just almost like a fishnet.
Oh, have y'all heard about this?
What?
It's up in Pennsylvania. Um, this woman goes out searching for her cat. Pay attention, Donna. And disappeared in a chasm of a 3-story deep sinkhole.
Ooh.
And they've been digging for her for 3 days, hoping to get her out. Apparently, it's an old mine shaft, and a sinkhole opened up next to it.
Ooh.
That
And
does
this
not
is
sound
up
like
in,
a fun time.
That's a real
somewhere up in
possibility.
somewhere up in Pennsylvania. They don't say where.
That's a
Of
real
course not. They
possibility in
don't want tourists.
south of Danville and southwest of Danville. In fact, because this is coal country, believe it or not, and salt. But
Yes.
there's one old coal mine out there that they made into a community, built all these beautiful houses on. And I'm still surprised every time I drive by and they're still standing. They've been there for 40 years now, so I guess they're either never going to sink down or one day it's all just going to go poof and everybody be gone.
We get
Yeah,
because the mountains around here, all the mines in our area are what they call dog hole mines, where you got the foothills going up to the mountain, you got the escarpment, and then the top of the mountain. And the dog hole mines are usually right where the escarpment hits the foothill part. They dig in trying to get to the coal veins,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're not much bigger than you could almost drive a car in, but there's no way you could open the doors. It's just that small.
Mm-hmm. When we were in England, I kept noticing what I thought were sinkholes. Turns out they were tin mines. And it's basically just a pit where there was a concentration of the ore, and they just dig down and get it. Might be 12 feet across, might be 15, might be 20 feet. Wouldn't be more than about 6 feet deep. And that was it. That was the mine. It's not like a coal mine where you actually have a shaft down 2 or 3 stories or 5 or 10 with an elevator to get the mine workers in and out, which sounds an awful lot like Kentucky to me. But no, just these little pits. And go, oh, good Lord, those are Roman era tin mines. And they're just basically open pits that somebody had to dig to be able to get to the ore that was plentiful in that spot, but not 12 feet further away.
Mm-hmm.
And once they ran out of ore, they just left the pit and went off to the next place they could find. This was probably, because it was tin, it was probably Middle Bronze Age or thereabouts. So that's a little bit old, which would explain why they weren't all that deep anymore, because they'd been partially filled in by erosion and whatnot. They might have actually been not basement deep, but a little bit deeper than 6 feet. But you just see these things everywhere in the countryside. But it was a major industry because bronze was a major industry.
Mm-hmm.
And this was not even medieval England. This was earlier than that.
Early
bronze,
evil England.
Yeah, very
Early evil. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, there was that time
Just
when
starting to get evil. So mischievous. Mischievous England. What was that one?
There was that time when I kept hearing this ELO song, "Evil Woman," and it was timed correctly. So I was in the SCA at the time, and I kept hearing it as "Medieval Woman" uh, in my sick and twisted mind. Uh, but that's why people love me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Shootout in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't know what was mine there. I don't remember, but they have got an area where the holes are like 30 foot tall and wide enough that they've got 2 lane traffic in and out, and now they've got like warehouses and businesses in there.
Salt mines, probably.
Salt mine could be
could be.
that. It Ron took me through there one time, and it was just. I mean, you could look up and go, "Oh, wait a minute! There is a roof over my head." It just was so open.
There are caves in Cheshire, England, where they store cheese and wait for it to age properly. And it's just caves. But I'm going. You keep making the cheese, I'll keep buying it. I like the way it tastes. There are places. Cheddar Gorge is a lot like Tallulah Gorge, but
made out of cheddar.
No, it's not made out of cheddar. It looks like it's made out of granite to me. And there are goats that will be halfway up the walls, and you're going, "How did they get there?" And anybody that's got the natural inclination will answer very carefully. But I'm going, it's a goat. It goes wherever it wants to go. Talk about herding cats. You've never tried to herd goats before, have you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, pretty much need a 410 and some bird shot to do that. Oh, it's beautiful though. I mean, it's there's a road at the bottom. It's a very twisty, windy road, which describes 90% of the roads in England.
A long and winding road.
Yeah, a long, winding, narrow road. And one day I will figure out the driving etiquette over there, because a lot of their not large roads pretty much would pass for, "Oh, somebody paved a farmer's dirt road here," or a logging.
Probably what they did.
And you're going down the road, and all of a sudden you see somebody coming the other way. One of you decides to pull over and let the other one go past. I don't know what the etiquette is. I think it's whoever finds the widest spot they can pull over into. But I don't know. It's never been written down that I can find what the rule is.
There's probably some odd thing about every day except St. George's Day,
Except on St. Swithin's Day, and then George has to take a back seat.
But farmers always have the right of way.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because they're in tractors and stuff. So.
Yeah, really. No, I'm not going to hit your $50,000 car with my $250,000 tractor.
Oh, that reminds me when Top Gear decided to try farming. And
I wouldn't trust those guys to scramble eggs.
Strangely enough, who's the guy that was all controversial? In Top Gear.
Clarkson. Yeah.
Clarkson has started a farm.
Yeah, and he won't let the other two guys visit. He's barred them from his farm.
Because they would know what to do. At least
And they have nothing good to say about him either.
I can believe that. But yeah, Clarkson's got the biggest tractor he could find because that's Clarkson. You know, that was Jeremy. You go with big, you go with power. Doesn't matter what you're doing. The tractor was 3 times as big as the path to get from the road into the farm.
So he
quite
couldn't
possibly 3 times as big as the field he needed the tractor
Almost,
to plow.
yes.
He couldn't get to the gates. The tractor was that big. So it's
I mean, you make one pass one way and one pass the other way, and you're overlapping in the middle, and the entire field is plowed.
Mm-hmm.
there is this bulldozer, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it's interesting. It's 2 big 9-ton bulldozers with 1 blade.
Oh my.
The blade is like 70 feet long.
You
And they have a
taking that down
bulldozer.
the highway.
They have a bulldozer at each end of it, and it's used for large scale landscaping.
Very large scale.
And I could not tell you. Let me see if let me find it real quick. I have no idea where to look for this. Dozer.
Down here, if you've got any farm implement that is wider than 12 feet, you're a hazard to road traffic
Mm-hmm.
because the lanes are only 10 feet. And we had stuff that was 14 feet wide, and I had to drive it all over the county, and naturally I had to take back roads because that's where the least traffic is. You don't know panic until you see it on somebody's face when they're running their little Subaru down this 2-lane track and they see a 14-foot wide tractor and plow heading straight for them, and there's no place for the tractor to go.
And no place for the Subaru to go.
Hey, there's always a ditch.
There's always reverse.
Yeah. But luckily, I didn't run into that situation. Basically, it was always, I got to the end of the very, very narrow road and made sure all the safety flashers and everything were on and got out onto the wider road, which a 14-foot wide something or another was perfectly legal because it was farming country.
Mm-hmm.
And there was provisions on the road for it to be wide enough. You just had to be careful if somebody in like a dump truck or a 18-wheeler was on the back roads for some reason. They start coming at you. You pull off to the side, even if you were kind of at an angle, and let them go by, and then because you're on a tractor, you got no problem getting back out onto the pavement.
Coming home from Hallowcon, we were on, I think it was 63, but the all 4 lanes. We had a tractor coming toward us, and it covered the 2 lanes headed south, and a little bit on the lane coming north. and we just kind of barely squeaked by in our van, and we're thinking, wonder how that semi that's about 5 miles behind us is going to get by this sucker. Damn.
That's a big bulldozer, John.
It's 2 D9s hooked to one blade,
Side by side.
side by side.
Damn.
And they got it. You can't see it real well here because of the angle. That they're
I can see the smokestacks, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
they got it in an angle to grade a parking lot. So
Yeah.
That's a little bit bigger than anything I want to have to be responsible for maneuvering,
Yeah.
but can be done.
5-minute
someone-
warning.
Yes, I was about to say we're right about at the 2-hour limit, folks. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Joe Bachman, for attempting to be here earlier, but Nap Ninjas attacked. Thank you, Joe Dog, for being here earlier, even when you were unwell. Thank you to everybody in the chat, Chris Walker.
Kitty,
I'm not Kitty, Thesis, everybody. Yeah, I could scroll back up, but it goes on for 2 hours. So
and they've been awfully quiet.
they probably got bored, which is not uncommon with my show. If you're not actually on screen, it's easy to get bored. Not everybody can put up with our level of snark without contributing. I thought John would have something to say about that, but I'm wrong.
you nailed it. I can't argue.
Oh. Now. Oh. Lindsay may need to use the rental car tomorrow, and she is deathly afraid of it because she's never driven anything that new with a push button start stop.
That is it do take some getting used to, because I bought that new truck, 6-speed manual, which I love manual transmissions, but it's just weird getting used to that 6-speed because it's backwards from all the Fords I've ever driven, or even these. Yeah, it's because it's 6-speed. Instead of going into first is reverse.
Okay, I can see
and then
the
everything,
pattern
and then the
head.
other 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then But what's really weird, the parking brake's electric.
What you talking about, Willis?
How?
Instead of having a manual handle to set the parking brake, it's pneumatic. There's a switch on the dash in front of the gear shift. You push it in to take it off. You pull it out to turn it on.
And you better not put your coffee cup in that cup holder close to that.
The cup holders are behind the gear shift. So, yeah,
Nope. I got a feeling she's going to ask one of the church ladies to come and pick her up rather than try and drive this Nissan.
Could it be maybe Satan?
No.
Okay.
Wrong church lady.
Wrong church lady.
No, it actually took me about 5 to 10 minutes to get used to driving this thing. And that was just going down the road.
Worst thing about driving a new car, trying to find the light switch at night. That's
the lights. The lights on this thing are on automatic.
That's one nice thing about my new truck.
It reads its own clock, and when it's sundown, the lights come on. You don't have to touch it.
My one complaint about the lights on it, it has smart lights, but they're too smart to turn off. So when you park and stop the truck and turn off the engine, the lights stay on.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to manually turn the lights off and then flip the switch back to the auto setting. If that makes sense.
The Buick does that. You basically you turn the key off. You see the switch for the lights is still on. So you hit it, the headlights go off, parking lights go off. You know you want the driving lights to come back on when you start the car again the next time. So you hit the button again because the key is now out of the ignition. It doesn't do anything except set it for the next time you turn the key and start it up.
One of the odd things about my truck, too,
The driver?
at night, it will track you with the lights because you've got the key fob in your pocket. As you walk around the truck, it'll turn the rear light on the bed.
Oh, my.
And as you walk past the doors, the lights will come on. So you can see what you're doing, in the middle of the night. It is.
What are you doing running around in the middle of the night, John?
Who
It's
knows?
John. Don't ask questions. Just get out of the way.
It's time to say goodnight, Gracie.
Oh, do we have to?
Who's Gracie?
I guess.
Good night, Donna.
Good night, John.
Good night, Dan. And
Good
night,
night,
Chris.
everybody.
And who else did we have on tonight?
Foxy
Everybody.
and
Good night,
Thesis.
Carl.
Oh, Carl went to bed long ago.
See, good night, Joe Bachman. Good night, Joe McKeel. Good night, Kitty. Thank you for showing up. Let me see what else we got. Oh, good night, Thesis. There's Thesis. Kitty. Okay. And good night, StreamYard. Thank you for showing up.
Oh, and
Night, John boy.
at the moment until the weekend, StreamYard has a 50% off deal going.
So are y'all going to sign up for next year at 50% off?
It's not my decision to make.
Jazz hands.
I know it's not my decision to make. I'm sure that Joe Dog has gotten the same emails I do, but
Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. Who the heck is that?
I do not know. But he seems to be a decent person. He's not a
Oh,
troll.
Yeah, he's been showing up pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I forgot Daniel was here.
We'll
Well, he
be on the
usually
show
shows
one
up,
day.
says something in the chat, and then vanishes. But
Story of our lives. Okay.
that's better than making Russian bot comments the rest of the night.
I think all our Russian bots got drafted and killed. So
I certainly hope so.
I don't know. I kind of miss them.
Well, somebody didn't because they never showed up again.
At least they paid attention to us.
Good shooting, Ukraine.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Don't you have something to do tomorrow? I'm retired. I don't have anything to do. Good night.
I'm making a pot pie. Good night.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.